My name is Carrie A. Landon, and I am 22 years old. My family said they couldn't afford to come to my graduation. Flights were just too expensive, that's what they told me. My mom said it gently, like she was cushioning bad news. My dad added that work was crazy right now, and maybe they could come up the week after instead. My sister said she was still emotionally wrecked from her boyfriend leaving her again and couldn't handle crowds. My brother didn't answer at all. He texted me 3 days later with a vague, "Got a lot going on." I kept telling myself there was no way they really wouldn't come. Not all of them. Not this time. This wasn't just another birthday or random weekend. This was my graduation. The day I officially became the first person in our family to finish college. 4 years. No loans. No help. 2 jobs. Late nights. Early classes. I paid every cent myself. All I wanted was for them to sit in the crowd for an hour. When the day came, it was just me. No familiar faces, no clapping with my name, no one holding a phone up to record. Just a folding chair with my name taped to it and a diploma handed to me by someone who didn't know me. I smiled because that's what you're supposed to do, but the moment felt hollow, like I was acting in a play no one bothered to watch. I thought that was the worst part. I was wrong. A week later, I opened Instagram like I always do in the morning, half asleep, expecting the usual nonsense. Instead, I was hit with a full family Disneyland trip. My aunt posted first, then my mom, then my sister. They were all there, matching red shirts that said family first, Mickey ears, fireworks, churros, my dad holding a turkey leg the size of his head, my brother's wife smiling. Even my sister, suddenly fine, wearing a sparkly headband and a frappuccino like heartbreak had never happened. Not a single message to me, not a mention. Not a wish you were here. That's when it finally clicked. They weren't too busy. They didn't forget. They just didn't care enough. I laughed out loud, alone in my apartment, because it was so cruel it almost felt like a joke. The kind where you're the punchline and everyone else already knew. I had spent years making excuses for them, telling myself they were overwhelmed, stressed, doing their best. But this wasn't stress. This was a choice. And somehow, that hurt more than anything else. Looking back, the Disneyland trip shouldn't have shocked me. It fit the pattern perfectly. My family has always treated me like background noise, like the person who exists on the edge of the frame while the real story happens somewhere else. My brother has never held a job longer than a few months. He drinks too much, fights with his wife constantly, and still lives at my parents' house with their kid squeezed into a room that used to be mine. Somehow, he's still the golden child. My mom makes him pancakes in the morning like he's 17 instead of 31 and tells everyone he's finding himself. My sister is the other kind of problem. She only dates men who throw money at her. Expensive dinners, designer bags, weekend trips. When they finally get tired of her and leave, she collapses into a 2-month emotional spiral and moves back home to rebuild her self-worth. I've sent her money more times than I can count. 300 here, 500 there, always with the promise she'd pay me back when things stabilized. She never has. And me. I stayed local. I worked 2 jobs. I paid my tuition, my rent, my groceries, my books. I didn't ask for help because I knew better than to expect it. Not once did I get a congratulations card. Not once did anyone offer to help. Still, I showed up. I helped with taxes. I fixed the printer when it jammed. I answered calls late at night when something broke or someone panicked. I kept my mouth shut until yesterday. My dad called in the afternoon, casual, like he was asking about the weather. He asked if he could still claim me on his taxes this year. Said it would really help them out. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, just clean and final. I told him no. He went quiet for a second, then asked why I was being like this, so I told him. I told him about my graduation, about sitting there alone, about the Disneyland photos, the matching shirts, the fact that they had money for churros and fireworks, but not for a flight to see me walk across a stage. He didn't apologize. He didn't even sound surprised. He said we should talk about it in person. He said he'd come by tomorrow. When he showed up, he was 20 minutes late, like always when it was something that only mattered to me. He didn't knock right away, just stood outside until I opened the door, holding a coffee like this was a normal visit. He walked past me and sat down without being invited. The first thing he said wasn't sorry. It was that the trip had been planned a while ago, that everyone needed a break, that they hadn't done anything like that in years. He talked about my mom being stressed, about my sister needing cheering up, about my brother's kid deserving something nice for once. He said it had nothing to do with me and that I shouldn't take it personally. I asked him if he realized it was my graduation. Not just any day. The day I became the first person in our family to graduate college. He shrugged and told me I was being too emotional, that these things happen. I asked him if Disneyland just happened. He said they got a good deal, that it was family time, that they couldn't cancel everything last minute. He didn't even pretend they forgot. They just chose something else. Then, like it was nothing, he asked again if he could still claim me on his taxes. That's when I stopped pretending to be calm. I told him no, not this year, not ever again. I told him I was done being convenient, done being the one who worked nonstop while my brother drank away opportunities and my sister burned through money that wasn't hers. He told me I was looking at things the wrong way, that I was making it all about money. I told him it was never about money. It was about respect, about showing up, about acting like I mattered even a little bit. He leaned back, crossed his arms, and said something I'll never forget. He said, "You've always been different, Carrie, always doing your own thing. Maybe you just don't understand how family works." I stared at him and realized that was the truth. Not about me, about them. I told him if that's what family meant to him, then maybe I didn't want to understand it. He said he didn't come there to be insulted. I told him I didn't ask him to come at all. He left without saying goodbye. 4 days passed. Silence. No calls. No texts. I thought I might feel guilty. I didn't. But I knew how this family works. They don't let go quietly. Not when they think they can still pull you back in. The invitation came through my mom, which already told me everything I needed to know. "Let's all have dinner," she texted. "Talk things out. It's time." No apology. No acknowledgement of what they'd done. Just an order wrapped in a smiley face, like if we all sat at the same table again. The past would politely excuse itself. I stared at the message for a full day, going back and forth. I told myself I wouldn't go. Then I told myself maybe I should, just once more, to see if any of them were capable of saying the words I'd waited years to hear. We were wrong. Curiosity won. I arrived around 6. Same old house, same cluttered living room, same smell of something overcooked mixed with one of those gas station candles my mom loves. Everyone was already there. My brother had a beer in his hand, laughing too loud at something on TV. My sister was dressed like she was heading to a club, scrolling on her phone. My dad stood in the kitchen talking like nothing had ever happened. My mom smiled too much. Look who finally came home. We sat down. My aunt had brought some cheap casserole. My nephew had headphones on, glued to a tablet, oblivious. It felt surreal, like I'd walked into a rehearsal of a family that only existed for appearances. My dad started things off. He said they wanted to clear the air. That family is all that really matters. That we shouldn't let small things blow up. He called what happened a misunderstanding. Then came the phrase they always use, the one that sounds like an apology until you listen closely. "We're sorry if you felt hurt." If! My sister jumped in next, talking about how hard her breakup had been, how mental stress affects everything, how it was selfish of me to expect her to drop everything for just one day. My brother followed, saying I'd always acted like I was better than them because I went to college and paid my own way. My mom said she didn't realize I was so sensitive. My dad leaned back like a judge who'd already decided the verdict. According to them, I was the problem. I'd ruined the family mood. I'd made things uncomfortable. I was cold, unforgiving, dramatic, ungrateful. They rewrote the whole story right there at the table, and for a while I just listened. I watched how easily they slipped into it, how natural it felt for them to place the blame back where it always landed. Then came the moment that almost made me laugh. My sister leaned over, lowering her voice so the others wouldn't hear, and asked if I could lend her $800. She said there was a designer bag she needed before it sold out, and she'd pay me back as soon as she could. She didn't look embarrassed. She didn't even hesitate. It was muscle memory. That's when I knew nothing had changed. I stood up so fast my chair screeched across the floor. Everyone stopped talking. My brother raised an eyebrow. My mom looked up from her plate. My dad didn't move. I told them I was done. Done being the responsible one. Done being the fallback plan. Done trying to earn a place in a family that never respected me. I said I wouldn't be giving anyone money ever again. I wouldn't be answering late night calls. I wouldn't be helping with taxes or pretending I didn't notice all the times they left me behind. My mom told me to sit down and stop being dramatic. My dad told me I needed to grow up. I looked at each of them and said, "Don't contact me again. I mean it." And I walked out. No one followed me. No one stopped me. I drove home in silence. No music, no phone, just the sound of the road and the feeling that something inside me had finally shut off. Not in anger, in clarity. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. No guilt trip text. No calls pretending nothing happened. I slept better. I ate real meals. I caught myself humming in the mornings. It felt good, and that's how I knew it wouldn't last. 5 days later, there was a knock on my door. I checked the peephole. My dad. I opened it just enough to confirm it was him. He didn't waste time. He said he was being audited. Income verification, nothing major, but he needed help. My help. He said I still had the login from last year, and it would only take 10 minutes. I told him no. He blinked like he hadn't heard me. Said it was serious. Said he wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I told him it didn't matter. I told him he shouldn't be asking me at all. He called me cold. Said you don't just walk away from family. I reminded him that family is supposed to show up for graduations, for milestones, not just when someone needs a signature or a password or a loan. I told him if this family only counted when I was useful, then maybe it wasn't family at all. He shook his head, muttered, "Wow," and walked away without looking back. That should have been the end of it. But with them, it never is. I should have known it wasn't over the second my brother texted me. He almost never texts unless he needs something. A ride, cash, someone to blame. This time he wrote, "Family wants to make things right. We talked it over. Maybe things went too far. Come by for dinner. No pressure." No pressure was a lie they always told right before applying it. I stared at the message longer than I wanted to admit. I told myself I wouldn't go. I told myself I'd already said everything there was to say, but there was still this stubborn, hopeful part of me that wanted proof. Proof that they could take responsibility. Proof that I hadn't imagined all of it. So I went. Same house. Same fake warmth. Same people who somehow always made me feel like a guest in the place I grew up. My mom smiled too wide. My dad avoided eye contact. My sister complimented my shirt like we were at brunch. They asked questions, empty ones. How was work? How was my apartment? Was I dating anyone? None of them listened to the answers. Then it started. My dad brought up the taxes again, casual like he was mentioning the weather. Said things were complicated and it would really help if I just took a look. My mom said she wished I'd be part of things again. My brother said I always made everything a big production. My sister told a long story about missing a friend's wedding once because she was burned out and how the friend forgave her, so why couldn't I just let this go? They circled me slowly, rewriting everything. According to them, I was isolating myself. I was punishing them. I was unforgiving. I was dramatic. I was ruining the family over a misunderstanding. I sat there and listened, watching them pass the blame around like a dish no one wanted to wash. Then my sister leaned in and whispered it. She asked if I could lend her $800. Not for rent, not for groceries. For a designer bag she said was on sale and would boost her confidence. After everything. After calling me selfish. After telling me I was tearing the family apart. They still thought I was the ATM. I stood up so fast my chair slammed into the table. I didn't try to stay calm this time. I told them I was exhausted. Exhausted from being the only adult in a room full of people who only showed up when it was convenient. Exhausted from being used. Exhausted from taking the high road while they lived in their excuses. I told them I wasn't coming back. Not for dinners, not for birthdays, not for holidays, not for anything. My dad said I was being dramatic. My mom started crying. My sister looked offended, like she was the one being wronged. I walked out. I didn't wait to see if anyone followed. No one did. I drove home and sat in my car for a long time, engine off, phone dark, feeling the kind of quiet that only comes after you finally stop arguing with people who were never listening. For the first time, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like relief. It's been over 2 months now. I haven't spoken to any of them. Not my mom, not my dad, not my siblings. Complete silence. At first I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. The dramatic apology, the sudden crisis, the emotional ambush. But nothing came. And slowly I realized the silence itself was the answer. I heard things through other people, of course. You always do. My dad's tax situation got worse. Apparently, he ignored a few IRS letters and now owes penalties he doesn't understand. He tried calling me from 3 different numbers, left a voicemail pretending everything was fine, like we'd just missed each other for coffee last week. I didn't listen to the whole thing. My sister got dumped again. I only know because she posted a photo captioned "Healing Era" with sparkles and butterflies and a knockoff designer bag in the background. Her new plan seems to be becoming some kind of spiritual influencer. She's still broke, still living at home, still hoping someone sends her money for something vague and emotional. My brother hasn't changed. More drinking, more excuses. His wife finally left with their kid after years of chaos. My mom called it temporary to a family friend. I doubt she believes it. It's strange to watch from the outside, not with cruelty, just with distance. I spent years trying to hold all of them together, patching leaks, smoothing over meltdowns, pretending love meant endurance. Now that I've stepped back, the whole thing is unraveling exactly the way I always knew it would. The twist came last week. I got a handwritten letter from my grandmother. She lives in another state. I haven't seen her since I was a teenager. She was never close to my dad. Some old resentment I never fully understood. In the letter, she said she'd heard what happened, not from my parents, but from someone else in the family who follows me online. She said she was proud of me, that what I did took courage, that she wished she'd walked away from certain people sooner, too. At the end, she wrote, "You remind me of myself when I was younger. I just never had the nerve to leave. You did." She included a check. Not huge, but more than I'd ever gotten from my parents combined. And a phone number. Said I could call anytime. Said she'd love to catch up, maybe visit. I sat with that letter for a long time. Not because of the money, because someone finally saw me. Someone who wasn't reaching out because they needed something. Someone outside the dysfunction. That letter was the only real gift to come out of this entire mess. They don't invite me anymore. My name doesn't come up at barbecues or birthday parties. In their version of the story, I'm the villain, the ungrateful one, the difficult one. I'm okay with that, because I have peace now. Not the fake kind you post about, not the kind that comes from pretending everything's fine. The real kind, the kind that comes from choosing yourself and not apologizing for it. This time I'm not looking back.